Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Two Coaches and One Grizz on our Thanksgiving special. We're going to roll right into some saucy topics here, starting with mental health. Coach, how we doing? Grizz, how we doing?
Well, first of all, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and be extremely thankful for all the stuff that we have and the opportunity to be here and come together and talk and just be able to go over certain subjects and things that we've been blessed to do. And I want to wish everybody out there a happy Thanksgiving.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Grizz?
I echo everything Coach Gill says. Thankful to be here. Spending Thanksgiving with my two coaches. There's no other place I'd rather be.
It's amazing times. We're grateful to be here as well. So we're going to roll right into some, a pretty heavy topic that we've touched on in past episodes. We're going to talk about some mental health, gentlemen, specifically about the NFL and the most recent headlines with Everson Griffin and little episode or saga that he's having. Coach, you wanna touch or expand on that?
I mean, right now, as far as I understand that he was having an episode where he said that someone was in his house trying to kill him, and he posted some things on social media, made some phone calls, and again I'm bringing this topic up again, and I wanted to discuss it just because we keep seeing it repeat itself with different guys in the NFL that are going through a lot of mental stress, a lot of mental issues, and sadly, I don't think that we're preparing these men for this lifestyle and for the demands of the job, and again, I know that we're trying to establish a society where we're all equal and we're all under the same auspices of different things. But men always are going to have an extra burden or feel that they need to carry an extra burden because of who they are, how they represent their families, when they get married, wife, children, etc., etc. So these men are not being prepared either at home, through college, or in high school. I mean, I wish I had the magical answer, but it's just something that's becoming very concerning that these guys are seem to be going through and suffering so much.
Yeah, I think especially nowadays, social media, the attention that's on the subject, obviously it's more in our face and we're more aware of it more than ever. But I'm kind of like a old school in a sense on this situation. That, if you're in this position, you signed up for this. You signed up for this attention. We talk about Ridley, we talk about Lane Johnson, both of them taking time off from the season to work on their quote unquote mental health, and no one's, I'm no one to say whether they have real issues or not, but this is part of the job, right? In any other form or line of work, you would have to kind of battle through this, right? It's no different if you're, at an office job or at a regular day job, right? You have to kind of battle through this to be productive.
Well, for one, I think, you can compare it to maybe an office job or like any other job that you should be prepared, but it kind of isn't like every other job. There's a lot of pressure. You could lose your job in an instant. Your career could be over in an instant. Who knows what the reasons are for these guys having these problems. However, this new generation of athlete, they are more susceptible, I think, to this. And what Coach Gill said is right. I think we need to start teaching them young about how to, handle certain stresses. Whether you're going to be an athlete or not, I think it's important, maybe in middle school, early high school, just to some kind of, curriculum, something that helps these kids. We're trying to teach them how to become, adults. And okay, I'm going to teach you how to make money. I'm going to teach you how to get a job. But I think nowadays we gotta teach these kids that there's a lot of burden and a lot of pressure. And I don't know exactly how to handle it, but I think something needs to be done. As always, there's a start for this, and I think right now is where we need to do that.
They're relatively young men, they're just getting started. I mean, let's not, they're not even dealing with financial hardships.
How many early 20 people are making millions of dollars? I mean,
right, and
making money sounds easy, but now we have Your family members, hey, I need something. Hey, your friends are like, hey, how you been? Where you been? Let's what can you do for me, man? Can you get me out of this? I mean, that's just small things. There's other things that can make you like lose your mind, but there's pressure, and there's more pressure today because of social media. I think that's the number one killer right there. Is that in an instant someone can go online and tell you how much of a piece of shit you are. As much as I'm a fan of you, you get people, hey, you made a bad play, I think your family should die.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
We have the extremists.
Yeah. Which we're living through the extreme times of our lives.
In every facet in this country, we have the extremists. And yeah, sadly, you have those fans that they lose their minds and they take it personal. Like, the guy decided.
Short for fanatic. Right?
Exactly. He decided to drop that pass or miss that block or not make the tackle. When in fact, the guy's probably busting his butt to make every play. But, again, with that being said, these are all relatively young men in a good time of their lives,
I can only imagine what would happen to like a Scott Norwood in these days, bro. Like people that miss like crazy, a kick or a pass.
What's the name of the guy with the fan that was in the Cubs game when the Marlins won?
Oh, Bartman.
Bartman.
The early days of the internet. If there was Twitter with Bartman,
that guy must have gone through all kinds of stuff.
I mean, the guy was almost murdered back in the day.
They wanted to hang him
for that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it, and it also goes back to like everything that you do is just that much more magnified, good, bad, or indifferent. The spotlight is always on, and I understand that can take a toll on you and your mental well-being. But again, as we've said, it's with the change in time. It's also. We also need to do a better job of educating. And yes, it is okay to not be okay, but at the same time, we need to put in some structure here as to how are we going to deal with this and how are you going to cope.
I also believe that as social media is concerned, we need to teach the younger generation that social media is not where you bare your soul. And sadly, we see that a lot in the youngsters in schools, and they're out there. They put everything out there, and then when it comes back to hit them, like the Grizz just said,
they can't take it.
They can't handle it.
Yeah, it's become part of like such a part of the fabric of who they are and their and what they have become. Like they don't know how to separate that. I would say, and
we were brought up that our problems are our problems.
Correct.
And we talk about
keep it in house.
Keep it in house. Keep it with your family. Nobody needs to know anything. Nobody needs to find out. You talk about it here. We deal with it here, and we go out and we've handled it.
Now everything's through the media.
It's out there.
Even coaches I've seen that they want to motivate your players. Just go talk to someone on Twitter, say something out there, and that's how you get your message. Instead of going in a room, face to face, man to man, woman to woman, don't matter. But in house, you don't need to throw out your dirty laundry for the rest of the world to know. I mean, it's not how it's done.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I see it both ways. Like it, going back to the term that they use, it's okay to not be okay. And like, I think there is truth to power with people who are sharing the fact that like, I deal with mental issues. I do have, mental health concerns, and I think it's helped more people than it's hurt to express that.
No, and again, I'm not discounting that.
Right.
And I think that is good that we're seeking help,
because who knows how many suicides or other negative
are
things
being prevented.
Right.
My only concern is that we see it being multiplied. You get me? It seems to be more of it. Okay.
Right.
And in order for it to be more of it, then that means that you are not learning how to deal with these stressors as you're growing up. Does it mean, okay, in our business of football, right? The optimist coaches, you don't have to come to practice. You just got to be here Saturday. Here. Then all of a sudden you start going to a more structured situation that changes. Now the kid isn't happy there anymore. Now the kid wants to go somewhere else. Now he goes to college. Again, it's a different structured situation. Maybe that coach has certain requirements, that's not, I got to go. I don't want to be. It's never a face the music situation.
For sure.
It's I'm not happy. I'm going to go. I'm done.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of
the transfer portal thing is the exact representation of that. If I don't like the playing time, if I don't like what I'm just gonna go somewhere else. instead of having to suck it up. And you know what? Understanding that maybe you're not going to be part of the 1%. Your job was here to learn this and get maybe an education, a solid learning experience.
Look at Jalen Hurts, though.
Yeah.
To me, Jalen Hurts is a great example of, okay, I lost my job. I'm going to stick it out here. Right. And then, at the right time, he transfers and he goes to Oklahoma. Yeah. He balls out and he's in the NFL.
That's a good way of doing it. Not just, I'm leaving out of nowhere.
After year 2.
Yeah.
It's definitely, for sure, all of that and that change in society of making it okay to like go to a better situation just cause.
Or I think the grass is greener on the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, whether it is or isn't.
He ended up he graduated from Alabama, right?
With a master's.
Got his master's, everything done. And then, hey, Nick, coach.
Thank you.
I'm going to go over here, give me
a better opportunity
chance
for
to play.
Right.
No,
you already got your starter. We're good.
No, listen.
And he gave him a blessing.
Saban blessed, which is very uncommon for Nick Saban on transfers.
Right.
You get me? But no, this kid did it the right way. He was there. He even came in when Tua got hurt. And like I said, but we don't see that.
We're not teaching our youth and the generations coming up how to cope with failure, deal with adversity, and rise up and overcome it.
Overcome
so
those
yes,
stress or those
I
things.
do agree that is a bit.
He's a rare breed. He has that old soul to him.
Right. But I do agree that that is a big part as to what we're seeing, because Calvin Ridley is a second or third year guy.
Yes.
These are young men that have been superstars their whole life. Let's call it what it is. And these are just prime examples that we've seen recently. But yes, I do believe that the generations coming up, we are doing them a disservice because we're not allowing them to learn how to cope with failure, to deal with adversity, to overcome it.
When Sean was talking about your mentals and your chickens, okay? When he was talking about that, he was on point. And it was before all this is being,
this is across the board. This is across the board. The entitlement, the participation trophy, thought process aspect of it. You see it with the parents that we deal with today in our line of work. They, instead of building in that you have to deal with adversity, you have to deal with this failure. You're not always going to get what you want. The parents of this younger generation are doing the opposite.
No, because life is like
They're
that.
enabling the kids, and it's only going to get worse from here. Now, to that point that where you were talking about earlier, it is okay. We've prevented. I think we've done more good than bad in terms of being able to talk about this and putting it at the forefront of our conversation. But yes, and I do think that's part of why it's multiplied in terms of cases that we've seen. But there is a part of me, the cynical part of me, that there's also going to be that contingent that's going to. This is another opportunity for them to take advantage.
That's the excuse,
right?
And again, and what sucks about that is that it takes away from those that really need it and are really having struggles with anxiety.
Because when you have those individuals that are crying wolf, it takes away attention from those that really need it.
Correct.
So I think this is definitely a very healthy conversation, and I'm 100% convinced that this is not the last time that we're going to bring this up. But yeah, great conversation on this point. I'm really happy that we started off the podcast with this today. So be right back with some NFL coverage. Rolling right into the AFC East. We got Buffalo Bills, right? They're kind of getting cold here on us, and then New England coming back strong, taking hold of first place in the AFC East division. Buffalo's at 6-4 right now, and New England riding high at 7-4. Coaches, Grizz, talk to me.
Just when you thought they were gone, just when you thought you could just, sneak out of your house, feel like everything's going all right. Those stingy, stupid little Patriots, bro. They're still around. And, of course, leave it to the Bills, given this amazing offense, given this team that I'm going to take away the Patriots. Now I'm going to have to look forward to the Bills, right? Obviously, I'm going to have to go through them as a Dolphin fan. And you know what? I don't like the Bills. I don't like the Jets. I don't like the Patriots. I don't like any of them. But at least, give me a break from these Patriots, bro. And sure enough,
Bill's back.
Bill Belichick.
Bill's back.
He saw Tom Brady win last year and goes, wait a minute. Hold my beer, bro. I'm going to go get this rookie from Alabama who is basically Brady-esque, little Brady. I don't know what to even say. This guy's accurate. He's awesome.
Let me call Nick and see what Nick says about it.
Like my other buddy, Nick. Hey, Nick, what do you got for me? And Buffalo decides to take a swan dive, lose to some terrible teams now, and the Patriots are just chugging along, bro. I don't. What can you tell me? Why is this happening?
Nick, if he drops a 14, should I take him? Yeah, Bill, I think that'd be a great pick.
I mean, blame the rest of the league for allowing the Patriots to
draft. Guys, you guys can't draft. How do you do that? What do you do?
But again,
blame the rest of the league.
Again, how many quarterbacks were taken before?
You don't blame the rest of the league. You
Mac
blame
Jones
the other
was seen
people.
as immobile. Mac Jones was not seen. They thought it was just the talent around him.
Blame the rest of the league
And
for letting Mac Jones fall
him.
to 15.
You know, they overlooked him. And the guys that had quarterbacks picked their guys first. They felt comfortable with who they're picking. Again, and don't forget, the rumor had been that San Francisco was going to take Mac at 3. But they didn't. And he dropped all the way down.
Patriots on a 5-game winning streak right now, and Bills sputtering along.
Let me tell you something. It's not going to get easier.
At 6-4.
The Bills have to go and play at New Orleans, which is never easy. Okay? They're going to have to play the Patriots after that, and then go and visit Tom Brady in Tampa. So the next 3 games are going to say a lot.
Make or break.
Okay? It's going to say a lot. And if you don't think the Bill and the Patriots are going to be ready in 2 weeks for them, that makes it so much more interesting in the East.
I mean, it's easy to see now that kind of the Bills were kind of a fraud. Their wins came against the Dolphins twice, the Texans. They beat the Chiefs when they were like at their lowest point basically this year. I mean, they beat the Jets. Where's the crazy, unbelievable win? Which is the Chiefs. That's your only one.
They came out hot. They came out as juggernauts.
No,
and then they've kind of slowed down a little
teams.
bit. We got 7 weeks left in the season, and you know we'll see what they can muster.
I mean, I'm not ready.
I don't think they get to 10 wins.
I'm not. Wow, I was just about to say. I'm not. That is a super white hot take. I'm not ready to count them.
3 and 4, their next 7 games. Why not?
I'm not ready to count them out just yet. I still do think that they will right the ship and they will be in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, they do have some stuff that they have to figure out. They came into the season, you know, with a touted defense, a very strong defense. They have one of the best young quarterbacks in the league.
They just don't run the ball.
They've got 3 easy games at home. They're going to play the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Jets at home.
Oh, that's their bread and butter.
Those 3 are going to be locks. Now,
so Tampa Bay will probably be a loss. At minimum, you split with the Patriots. And
they'll get the 10.
And then, all right, 10 and 7.
And then we'll see we have to see what happens this weekend with the Saints and their backups.
Coach, we can't. Quarterback. By the way, we can't call it a lock when they lose to the Jaguars 9-6 and don't score a touchdown.
It's going to be at home.
Are they home?
Yes.
All 3 of those.
Those 3 are home.
I can see the Panthers only giving them problems there.
Right. And again, the weather in Buffalo, it is
that does play
colder.
A factor.
Once again, they'll run the ball now.
Well, they should. They've got 2 good running backs.
That's what I'm saying. Like not that they're world beaters, but they have 2 very solid running backs who have been productive in the league.
They catch the ball out of the backfield. Both backs are viable, good running backs.
They need to lean on them a little bit more. You can't. Again, Josh Allen's in his 3rd year in the league. You know, they put a lot on his shoulders, and to his credit, he's responded. Yes, they have a great receiving core, but again, he's only a 3rd-year quarterback. You can't put it on him every week to Superman it and win the game for you, you know, because you need to keep him healthy.
Yeah, but they got all the hype from last year in the beginning of the season that he's an MVP-worthy candidate. So, you know, you got to bring this guy back down to earth. And if they end up winning at the end, it will be because of that. He got back down, but it will also be because they run the ball. Run the ball.
The NFL is a league of adjustments. So they've got to adjust properly to be able to get back and be able to win the division. Otherwise, New England will win, and they will be hosting games in Foxborough, which I don't think anybody wants to go to.
I can hear the PTSD in your voice.
Year, by the way, Frank.
4th year? Well, off by a year. Rolling right into a team that has actually straightened the ship, okay? Kansas City, they're 7-4 right now. Okay, they were not looking very good a couple weeks ago.
They're back.
And they're back. You know, credit to Mr. Mahomes and the rest of the crew for getting back on, you know, looking.
I think that Andy Reid and the OC have a lot Bielemy has a lot to do with that as far as play calling and running the football more and throwing short passes and getting Tyreek Hill the ball in space. Getting him the ball, and they remember they have one of the best tight ends in the business.
Right.
They had forgotten they had Kelsey for a while, and now he's again producing. And heck, they even they put him in the goal line the other day in a little wildcat look.
He ran right up the middle.
You know,
right.
And they're playing better defense.
And Spags,
exactly.
and the defense is starting.
They themselves are on a 4-game winning streak. Okay, and when we were, overreaction Tuesday for us a few weeks back.
They held the Packers and the Cowboys to under 10 points. So that defense, if that defense plays like that, they're going to be in the Super Bowl again.
Well, going off of what Coach said just a couple minutes ago, it's a league of adjustments, right? At the beginning of the year, teams were sitting in too high coverage against them and were daring them to run the ball. And they weren't, right? Going off of the whole little Superman jig, Mahomes was trying to do it all himself. Okay? When you got a light box, hand it off. Okay? And they righted the ship, right? They made adjustments up front.
Hilaire coming back is healthy. It's good. It's helping them out.
Correct.
And now they got Williams and him, which again gives you another 2 backs they can run the ball confidently.
And remember, that was also a rebuilt offensive line from what they had in the Super Bowl.
Now they're starting to gel. That takes time. That's a unit in and of itself. You can't just put world beaters up there and expect them to perform together as one unit. That does take time.
Now, has anybody, speaking of defenses and things of that, has anybody able to find the LA Chargers defense? I think they didn't get on the bus for the game.
I mean, listen, with the Chargers in general, it's just you're expecting a shootout every.
Ben looked like he was 27 years old again.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at this point, you're expecting a shootout every game.
Shot.
They got lucky.
That guy was shot. They've been asking for the backup quarterback for the last 5 weeks, and all of a sudden Ben comes out and he's Big Ben from Miami of Ohio.
You look at the season so far and the scores that they have. Like these past couple weeks, it's been shootouts. They've been barn burners.
But they've got talent though. They got a heck of a defensive line. It's not like they got stiffs. They've got a good D-line. They've got some good. They've got players. Now, is it schematic? Is the scheme not good? Is a DC?
The Chargers in the last 10 years have lost more games after leading in the fourth quarter. They choke a lot.
Well, but that I think that had to do
habitual choking team.
I think that had to do with Lynn. I think that had to do with the last game.
Before Lynn,
I think
I've always seen them
North
choke
Turner,
at the end.
the Marty Ball with Marty Schottenheimer.
No, sometimes Marty had some good years and they finished.
They would start 6-1, 7-1, and then
sometimes you just are who you are, and that's who we think the Chargers are. At least I do.
Listen,
but they're not even in San Diego anymore.
Come on. Herbert's the real
deal.
Change
cities,
they moved on.
Herbert's the real deal, but that's another one that you can't put it all on his shoulders.
They're not even from San Diego anymore, buddy.
Yeah. Look at your Raiders. They move cities and they're still troublemakers. Your team is your team, and that team can move city to city, and you're still you have a brand. And to me, when I think Chargers, I think, this is the team that's gonna lose a game at the end, or they're a talented team that remember they always start like 0-4 or 1-5, then they make that late season run. Where was this team all year? That's who the Chargers are, but I still like them to make the playoffs.
They're 6-4. They're still in prime position to make the playoffs. Remember that there's an extra playoff spot.
Extra playoff spot. There's plenty of ways to make the playoffs now.
There's plenty of ways for them to make the playoffs. Like I said, I think they're still in prime position, but there's also plenty of ways to lose the playoff. Be out of the playoff picture real quick if they continue these.
Look, man, the Dolphins are one win away from being on the side of the television saying in the hunt. That's how the playoffs are these days.
Well, things are getting tighter. Things are getting way, way tighter now. Because all of a sudden, the Colts look like they remember how to play football again. Frank Reich is calling, and Wentz is playing. So all of a sudden now, what was a 3 or 4 race team over on the East that we talked about 4 or 5 weeks ago has now all of a sudden kept adding more guys to the table.
Yeah,
that team will make noise in the playoffs if they get in.
Colts are on a 3-game winning streak.
Team. They are a physical team. And I'd be worried about the Colts if they make it in.
It's lining up pretty favorable for them. Like I said, 3-game winning streak.
I think that's some nice receivers.
Taylor is the real deal. Now, again, remember they have one of the highest paid offensive lines in the league. you know. So that definitely has something to do with it. But also Carson Wentz actually looks like a football player again.
Well, again, and Reich is doing all the right things, moving him around the pocket, getting him out. You know, he still does his Wentz things.
He's not asking him to win the game.
Right.
He's asking him to make the decisions when he needs to.
Right.
They're not putting it all on his shoulders, which is great.
And the Grizz hit it on the head. I mean, they've got a great running back. They've got two good backs because Hines is pretty good as well.
Hines could start on almost every.
I mean, he's
and you can put Hines in the slot.
It's a real nice changeup.
Yeah.
You get me? So again, they're running the ball, they're throwing it, and their defense is playing really, really well.
And Marlon Mack, he's still injured.
Yeah, but he's on the chopping block. No, he's not injured, but I think he's on the he's trade bait. They're ready to trade him. That's another good back. It's a third back.
That's what I'm saying. He's another really good back that they could use if they needed to.
So yeah, the Chargers. Back to the conversation. The Chargers can't be fooling around too much.
Oh no, yeah,
because they'll be misstepping right out.
Correct. And the Titans, in the same division, they're 8-3. I still think they make it into the playoffs.
Well,
the whole complexion of the team has changed. Let's call it what it is with the loss of King Henry.
And it finally came to bite them in the ass because losing to the Texans at home is outright embarrassing.
Yeah, that's not good. But they have what, a 3-game lead right now?
Well, they have a 2-game lead, but by sweeping the Colts, they have to win one extra game, not be tied with them. They lose the tiebreaker. That's why I think both will make the playoffs. Titans will back their way in as a division winner.
And
Colts will be on the heat streak, and who knows? Who knows what happens?
Yeah,
man?
Once you get there, it's about getting hot.
They will miss not having Henry when it counts.
And they have the horse in the backfield to just hand it off 30 times a game if they need to in the playoffs, to keep them.
Well, Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's an MVP candidate right now.
The thing with the Titans is their schedule is pretty favorable. They get the Jaguars again, they play the Dolphins at home, and they go to the Texans. So those 3 games are 3 games that they could win. They get the 49ers at home as well. The only tough game, they got 2 games that could be difficult, which are New England and Pittsburgh away. Other than that, I mean, they should be in decent position, like you said, to win the division. But again, the Colts are there, and they're coming on strong, and they could finish and make things interesting for the playoffs, for the wild cards.
Segue, Thanksgiving. Okay, what games we got on the slate here? We'll start off with Cowboys and Cards, right? Let's preview these games a little bit for some great Thanksgiving Day football. Cowboys get to play the Raiders,
and they should be able to handle my boys real well. The Raiders shouldn't be a problem. I think again they'll be at home, so it's a good situation for the Cowboys to get healthy again. Okay. I think all signs are pointing for CeeDee Lamb to be back and for everybody to play, which again, I think that hurt them, losing those guys. And Zeke got hurt, Cooper got knocked out of that game, CeeDee later on, and Zeke was out. I mean, that, whether you like it or not, that it does affect, especially the way the game's going to play out. But I think they'll be back to normal now against the Raiders.
Can I make a public service announcement? Can we get the Lions off of Thanksgiving Day?
That's a Thanksgiving tradition, sir.
No, I like having the Lions. It tells me when I'm ready to eat when they finish losing.
Well, but that's the thing. That's the first game of the day. They play.
I know, but that's fine. Nobody's really
the Bears
watching
and
that.
Lions.
Nobody's watching the 1:00 game for the craziness and oh my god, it has to be the best game. It's just an appetizer.
Plenty of college ball. There's plenty of college ball that day.
We got college football now.
There's plenty of other sports to watch.
Dinner's always the Cowboys, and now they give you dessert with a game at night. Man, I like seeing the Lions get destroyed every year. It's fun.
And this year they're evenly matched. They're playing the Chicago Bears. So there you go.
It's a Wizard of Oz game.
Let's again, not the best game to start off Thanksgiving Day football. Bills Saints, right? That's the nightcap for Thanksgiving evening. That's going to be a great game with some playoff implications there as well. Saints probably will have Kamara out again. So
yeah, he's out. He's been ruled out.
That's
again
that bodes well for me fantasy-wise.
No running back. Their quarterback is still
Mark Ingram's been all right, though. Mark Ingram's been all right for them. That was a great pickup
it's
for them.
setting them up for, helping Buffalo out. But the home factor is what will make that game interesting.
Yeah, Buffalo playing in New Orleans. Anytime you go into New Orleans with fans and the whole 9 yards, it's a different feeling, a different situation. So, and now going back to what you had mentioned earlier, the Arizona Cardinals are waiting on their starting quarterback. McCoy has done a decent job of keeping the ship going. They're 2-1. Murray should be back this week, so we'll see how that goes.
You know, and looking at that team, I think it was a benefit for them to have that midseason stumble and have Murray out for a couple games, just so they can, you know, get that the schneid off of their back, if you will, of they're the only undefeated team.
Right. Right now, and they come up to their bye week this week, so again, he should be ready to practice. Everything is pointing to them being able to again make their adjustments and move forwards. Even though Kingsbury does not have a great record of maintaining and getting better in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, as we've talked about in the past here, in recent weeks, the NFC is wide open. I mean, granted, they're 9-2 right now, and obviously they're primed to be the number one seed in the NFC. But again, wide open with all these teams jockeying for position in the NFC. So it should be definitely an interesting little situation there this weekend for the Packers and the Cardinals. So moving right along, and we're back with our college football coverage. We're going to jump right in here with some big name vacancies right now that have been added to the list in this past week. In addition to already the big jobs that have been opening up in the past few weeks, Dan Mullen added to the list at Florida. You had Justin Fuente out at Virginia Tech. In addition to Washington State, LSU, TCU, USC, there's a whole laundry list of teams that got college football head coaching openings at this juncture right now.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. If I was Iowa State, I'd be concerned, because I think that's going to be one name that people are going to come after. I think Campbell's a good coach. I think he's done the most that he can do in that program at Iowa State. It's
a mid-tier program,
and I think that there are some big programs that are going to be clamoring for his services. You know, there's him. There's a couple of other guys at a couple other places that again are going to be looked at to try to lure them to these big name programs, including Florida, USC, TCU. Even though it's not really a big name program, they've always contended in the Big 12. It's always been something that they work on and they do well in the Big 12. So, you know, Washington, that's another big program. You know, we're gonna see now which one of these head coaches people are gonna go after, as well as coordinators on both sides of the football. It's going to be interesting to see if anybody goes after Vrabel now, with Clemson not having such a great season. You know, is he going to be somebody that is going to be interested in getting a job or coming out of, you know, Dabo Swinney's shadow?
Yeah, and you also have the offensive coordinator for Alabama. He's been a head coach in the NFL before. Bill, blanking on his name here. Quarterback coach, worked with Brady. But he's going to be in line for a head coaching job here pretty soon. He did the old Alabama Saban repolishing of his reputation.
Well, he just got there. The problem with him is he's only been there 1 year.
Bill O'Brien.
I don't think O'Brien's going to go anywhere after 1 year. You know, I think he's going to have to stay there a little bit longer, just because. I mean, it is what it is. He just got there.
Yeah, he's got it made too.
He just got there. He's not going to leave anywhere.
It wouldn't surprise me, though.
You know? I mean, nothing surprises me. Yeah. You know?
I mean, one of these big colleges offer him a lot of money. I don't think Saban's going to hold them back from it.
Oh, and you also see the reaction from other...
Is Texas still... this guy still there?
Yeah, Sarkisian's not good. It's year one.
It's year one.
I mean... Is this year one?
Didn't look too good though this year though.
Oh, no.
He'll have at least 3 years there just to see if they can he can build his program.
I hope so. Not a good year for him.
No, at all.
He lost to Kansas.
But you see other programs reacting to all of these vacancies popping up, right?
signing their guys.
Signing their guys to long-term deals. Okay. Penn State, right?
James Franklin just signed 10 years. You have Traylor, like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, over at UTSA with the Roadrunners. You also had a big signing with Hugh Freeze. Also just signed a big contract at Liberty.
Did they not keep the coach from Michigan State too?
Yeah, Tucker. Tucker just got another 10-year.
Well, has he signed that deal yet? Because as of this weekend, he hasn't signed it.
Well, I mean, again,
I hope he signed it before his ass got whooped.
Well, that's what they were talking about in the game. You know, he hadn't signed. It was a 10-year deal that they gave him. They backed up the Brinks trucks, and he hasn't signed it. And there's rumors of LSU being involved there. You know, so
well, if he really wants to leave all that money on the line after getting his ass whooped, then go for it.
I mean, again, we'll have to see if the money's still there, or if the offer's there. I'm sure he's taking it, or has already taken it. My biggest question mark is what offensive coordinator is going to get tapped. Okay, is Aranda going to stay at Baylor?
His name's been thrown out for Washington.
It's just there's a lot of guys out there. You know, let's see who's going to go where in terms of head coaching position. Because once a head coach leaves, that opens another vacancy.
Correct.
You know, and you know I'm looking at Wake Forest, and their offense has been really good the last 2 or 3 years. So that's an offensive coordinator I think that's going to be looked at. You know, to get a position somewhere.
Yeah, and that's not a program that's going to back up the Brinks truck for anybody.
Well, not to mention all these programs that are like the Iowa State, the Wake Forest, that are not as familiar to us because they've never been this good. They got to strike while the iron's hot. And if at this moment you got a head coaching job somewhere else, you got a good payday, you're bouncing.
Cincinnati's defensive coordinator. That's a guy that's got to be looked at. Because Cincinnati's defense has been the real deal for the last 3 or 4 years.
And let's not forget with Fickle, like he may be moving on to greener pastures too, to a bigger program. Yeah, that's another one.
At least a program where he's got a shot every year.
But remember, once again,
make it,
like we've talked before, if Cincy ends up getting swallowed up by one of these big conferences, you already are part
then the conversation's moving at that point.
Power 5. And I think he really likes it there, you know?
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. You know, with Ohio State, you know, I think he loves being being a thorn in their side with recruiting as well, because he was one of Ohio State's big time recruiters there. He's an Ohio State guy, so building up Cincinnati and being a thorn in their side for the long term there, you know, he might like that. You know,
another guy who might get looked at to move from his position is the head coach at Kent State. He's also done some good things there offensively. He's considered an offensive guy, a good offensive coach.
Right.
So I think that the guy from Kent State is one of those guys that has to be looked at as far as maybe moving into one of these second-tier jobs, second-tier positions.
Right. And then looking at that you know, at this jigsaw puzzle of trying to put the pieces together, rumors have been flying about Brian Kelly going to USC, taking that job, which would then open up Notre Dame, and then Luke Fickell's name has been thrown in there that it's almost a wrap that if that happens, he's going to Notre Dame. You know, so there's a lot of moving parts here with this, and I do foresee more jobs opening up before the end of the year. It's just at what point does the quantity, you know, the supply and demand there, where does that run out? You know, because then you just start getting into like the Xerox copies of, oh, he was under this head coach, you know, he'll do a good job here because he's a disciple of this coach, or where. And, you know, the more you make copies of something, the less and less refined it is, you know. At what point does again the supply run out there? And then, you know, shout out to Coach Gomez, Mullen out. You know,
wow, I can't believe he beat Diaz to the punch, bro. Amazed.
He just lost a locker room. He just lost everything. It just went downhill.
And then firing your four of your long-time assistants.
He tried to save himself, but he couldn't. He tried to save himself and get rid of those guys, and it just didn't work out.
But I will tell you too, like, if you know, obviously he's a coach by profession. You can't walk that back because, you know, he'll be in line for another job, probably not as big a name as Florida. Those dudes aren't loyal to you anymore. You know, you can't walk that back once you fire guys that have come up through the ranks with you throughout your whole career. That you know, you lose your luster when that happens. You know, there's something to be said about loyalty there. Like,
listen, when the poo-poo is hitting the fan and you're trying to save your job, it's like, hey, guys, I got to let you go. I got to move on. The defense was horrible.
Yeah,
The defense
no, they
again,
were
and that's been something
atrocious.
that's been a staple at Florida for the last 4 or 5 years. Florida's defense has been
How many points
amazing.
they give up at home to Sanford?
Over
50. It was 50. It was. I think it was
52 at the half.
52?
56.
It was
I know they won
70
the
to
game.
52.
I know they won the game.
And I think the last nail in the coffin was the fact that they were on camera celebrating the win against a FCS opponent. You don't do that, man. They put 52
storm the
points
field?
on you. No, they didn't storm the field. They were just celebrating in the locker room like they had just won the conference or something
popping
like
bottles, popping bottles.
that. Yeah,
Wow.
whatever you
They
want
beat
to.
Sanford and Son, huge win.
No
Insane.
bueno.
Insane.
Huge.
No bueno on the look on that one, sir. Rolling right in and going.
Let's talk to some teams that are actually winning.
That's what I'm saying. Let's circle back into the Cincy situation and the college football playoff overall.
It's getting a little clearer.
They're in the top 4.
They're in the top 4, right? Which we all kind of foresaw that was going to happen. Okay, and then strategically positioning Ohio State at number 2 with their impending matchup with Michigan State, with Michigan, who is currently at number 5. So that's going to iron itself out there, especially after a huge win against Michigan State this past weekend for Ohio State. That'll iron itself out. Now, here's the question: Ohio State, they lose, they're out. Who jumps in, and what does that top 4 look like? If
Alabama goes right back into second place.
Yeah.
And
Michigan will probably be
position.
3.
Right.
Well, if Michigan throttles, Ohio State, they might even.
So
be
you think Michigan leapfrogs Cincinnati?
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
as long as Cincinnati's in the playoffs, they will be the 4th seed, I think.
Yeah, I don't see them going any higher than 4.
Do you foresee a scenario happening where Cincinnati gets bumped out by another team? All things stay the same, right? They stay
If
undefeated.
they stay undefeated, the only way I think that's possible is if Oklahoma State wins out. I can't even think of Notre Dame with a loss to them and a loss period
getting
ahead of them.
Right.
So
I agree with that.
If everybody wins out, if Georgia wins the whole thing, Alabama's out, right? Then you have Ohio State, Michigan, Big Ten winner, they're in. Cincinnati is undefeated, they should be in. And then you have who is either Oklahoma State or Notre Dame. If Alabama wins and it's Alabama and Georgia, they're in. Then it's your Big Ten winner, and then Cincy should be in if they're undefeated.
Now let's
see.
Let's say that there's chaos. You think there's an outside chance of Bama with 2 losses still sneaking in?
No.
2-loss Bama with no championship.
No. There's too many there'll be too many one-loss teams
to justify
that are
it.
Conference champions.
Because
And even then,
because
a
you could have a
2-loss
Oklahoma
conference champion should deserve it over Alabama.
Right, like that committee would be clamoring to try to justify that.
No, it's just, first of all, I think the right thing would be like, dude, we have these teams in every year. I get it if they are undefeated or 1 loss, but if you lose 2 times, man, and there's other teams that are more deserving, I'm tired of the best teams need to win. Well, then the best team should win.
No, the best team needs to win.
Like the best team win then. Why does this best team lose in the middle of the year? Why do they lose in the championship game? Why do they deserve it?
Like I said, I'm all about a 1-loss team. I have no qualms with a 1-loss team making the
Definitely not a
playoffs.
deal breaker, right?
You know what I'm saying? Anybody can lose a game at any time. It happens. You can't get up for every single game. Correct. Now, with that being said, once you hit the 2 losses, there's no way I can have you pass up 5 or 6 other teams above you with 1 or no losses. Correct. That's impossible. You get me? So yes, if Bama loses the second one, they need to drop down to about 7th or 8th. They got to go down, and these other guys have to move up.
If you think about it, the mighty SEC that they play in, where's their biggest win of the year? The Florida game? No, now they're terrible. LSU? No, they've been terrible. Everybody they've played, not that good. Maybe Arkansas, but Arkansas gave them a game.
If they beat Georgia, Georgia will be the
they
signature
beat Mississippi. Okay, that was a good win. But my point is, exactly, if you beat Georgia, then you are in. 1 loss, right. You're the SEC champion.
Right.
You're in. But if you lose 2 times, your strength of schedule is not that high.
Yeah, and especially not this year. Like, this isn't the year that it would happen.
Right, the SEC is not.
They are down.
Its usual 4 or 5
correct
juggernaut teams.
Yeah.
So, but again, I still think. I think that that Notre Dame does have a shot. If, like you just said now, if chaos does ensue, Notre Dame does have a shot.
And they're...
Even if Cincy loses one game, I still think the win against them should be held against, but I can see.
Yeah, but
I can see Notre Dame.
No, if Cincy loses to Houston, it's all over. They're dropping down 5 spots. Yeah. I'll tell you right now.
Even though Houston isn't a great team in their own right, I think, and they're ranked, well, yeah. Well, you know, if it's a game that they lose by 1, that's your only chance. But no. If Cincy loses a game, they're out. Unfortunately, sad. And once again, it would be for the championship. So you're not going to reward the one-loss Cincinnati team that couldn't even win their conference.
Yeah, the deal there is if Oklahoma, between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, they win their conference, they're going to move up. Okay.
I give Notre Dame the edge over Oklahoma.
And then you have to make the decision there. You know.
Oklahoma State to me is a better team.
Notre Dame's always going to have the edge there, the advantage, just because of the reach that they have. They're a national reach team.
Their brand is one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the sport.
And at that point, that's when money comes into play. You know, the committee's going to have them in there because that's what's going to sell tickets at the end of the day over in Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. You know?
I don't think it's the tickets part because you're going to have a full stadium of Cincinnati Bearcat fans too going. I think it's more ratings on TV.
For sure.
Correct.
100%.
Correct.
And
like national audience ain't going to watch it as much.
And talking about money, in this next segment coming through, we're going to cover some college basketball and, go with Coach Gill's deep dive, and he'll explain to us where he's at on the season. So coming back with you there in a second. And we're back with some college basketball coverage and our weekly deep dive via Coach Gill. College basketball season is heating up here. All right, Blue Bloods again rising to the top as we predicted in past episodes. Let's jump right into it. Gonzaga looking like the beast that we thought they all would be.
They're looking nasty. They're beating people by 20. They beat UCLA last night. By 15 or 20 points. They just ran away from
it. And UCLA is number 2 team in the nation right now. Beat them handily.
They just, it's woof. Like wow. I'm even taken aback because I really didn't think they were going to be that good. But it wasn't even close. They got Texas. They beat Texas by 12 earlier. They've got a nice game. Friday night, they play Duke. That should be a great game. It's in a neutral place.
Duke undefeated as well, 6-0.
Yeah. So that's going to be again, and I have to credit Mark Few and his staff and the things that they're doing because years ago they didn't play a lot of these tournaments. They only played one or anything like that, and they would go and beat up the conference they play in,
right? And
they would be undefeated. And then when they got to these bigger games in the tournament, man, they would bow out in the round of 8. They wouldn't make it to the Final Four, even to the finals. Now the last couple of years, he's been playing a lot of these tournaments, playing a lot of these big teams, and his kids are getting used to these big crowds, and they're really battle tested.
Yeah, and I think going off of that in past years when they have not performed at the biggest stage, their ones can line up, can play against any other program in the country, but they didn't have the bullets to fire. Just like the larger programs. Now they do.
No, he's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, now they are a marquee program.
Yeah. He's been. I mean, like I said, they've done a miracle there with that program. 10 years ago, you would say the Zags, and nobody knew who they were.
Right.
Now everybody knows who Gonzaga is and where it is in the country.
I mean, you're gonna have kids 20, 30 years from now looking at Gonzaga as what I look at Duke. When I look at North Carolina, Kansas, people are going to be like, that is the legacy team of the 2000s. Like, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Who would have thought that, man? But I love how they play, man. And they just reload now. I mean, they're like all these other teams that just...
Correct.
We lose amazing talent and we just get better talent.
And it's a reload. And like you said, it's a credit to the way that the coaching staff has built the program because before, right, like you were saying, they're... best player was Adam Morrison, right? And now you're talking about their best player last year was Jalen Suggs, who was a 5-star recruit in basketball and football. They never got those guys before.
And he's bringing in some European kids as well that are he's got kids in the NBA. There's guys that played for him that are in the NBA. You know, he's just done an amazing job at that. And they play defense. They don't just run you out of the gym. They play some really good defense.
It also goes to show you, man, if these coaches stick around and they're able to like build a program that, which, you know, we didn't think you could do that anymore. You didn't think you see the Krzyzewskis and the Knights and these guys that stay 30 years in a program, because after 5 years, a Gonzaga loses that coach somewhere else, and you got to give Mark Few, hey, I'm staying here, and Gonzaga probably, hey, we're paying you and we're building this program, and that's it. And I think you got to give good coaches the time and let them build and stay. And you're gonna, you know,
and again,
not everything is gonna be a Gonzaga, but
he's also worked outside of the box. And that's why I keep on bringing the idea that he's brought in kids from Europe and kids from other areas that other coaches don't bring in to these other mid-major programs, because that's what Gonzaga was. You know, they technically
but he's
still
been doing
are.
the Europeans for a long time.
He's been doing it for quite a while now. Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
he probably was able to do that once he started getting the, you know,
No.
the Gonzaga's a good team.
Right.
Here.
Correct.
Playing devil's advocate, though, you know, if there's other teams, big programs, and they continue to knock on the door, you know, there's going to come a point where the coach is going to be like, well, they just you know, gave me an offer I can't refuse.
I mean, I think it's bigger for him than that.
Yeah. You think so?
I think his family's there. I think that he's made it his.
That time has passed.
Yeah.
I don't think that guy wants to like just uproot. He's not a guy who's going to go be a coach for the NBA.
Well, right. Well, as recently as last season, he was being thrown around as a candidate for bigger programs and NBA jobs.
Right. You can throw around anybody.
They always throw his name around.
Happen.
Yeah.
They always throw his name around. But again, like I said,
wasn't Krzyzewski always say he's going to be a Laker coach? There's just some guys that he knows his place. It's not a bad thing to know that you're going to be great. That guy's going to be great till he retires. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
and he still hasn't won a national championship. They are still chasing that national championship.
Right.
I think
He's been there, but they haven't gotten it. No, he's there to stay.
And
you know?
Perfect example of that is when you look at, for example, Shaka Smart at Texas now. He's
not there anymore.
All right, we'll cut
so
that one
when he went from Wichita
AC
State.
cut that one out.
He was at Wichita. He was at VCU.
He was at VCU. Then he went to Texas.
But now he's gone.
He's gone because the guy that was at Texas Tech, Beard, took over Texas.
Gotcha.
He's at Texas now.
Again, my point.
It's a big program that said, goodbye.
My point to that was he built a program there. A big name came knocking.
No, but he didn't build a program there. He built a big program at VCU. Shaka Smart did a great job at VCU. Then he got the opportunity to go to Texas, and he was not ever able to get Texas
to where
Texas
they wanted it to be.
Had been.
He had a nice run to make a Final Four in his first or second year coaching. Young guy. He knew this is, I'm not here to.
And those weren't his players.
I'm here to go get something.
Those were not his players.
Kenyon College alum. Shout out Shaka Smart.
Look at Brad Stevens. He could have stayed at Butler forever, right? Made it maybe Gonzaga.
And they made it 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row to the finals.
Right.
But he himself had bigger goals in his head. He wanted to move on to the NBA.
And look,
it's just certain people. If you're going to make that move, you make it. I think when the time's right, the iron strikes. Hot. You're good. 5 years or less into that job, you move on. That's why Few, he's been there 20 plus years. He's not going nowhere.
Yeah, Mark Few's not going to go anywhere. But yeah, the situation, like I said, at Texas it's a different situation, just because they haven't won as much as they thought they could win. But the last coach that was there, he's at Tennessee now. He's the head coach at Tennessee. He did a good job in that program, and he ended up getting fired because again they got close. They got Elite Eights, Final Fours, but they never brought home the championship.
Now let's look at a team that we thought was going to be up in there with the Blue Bloods and ranked in the top 10. They've actually been struggling a little bit here in the last couple of weeks. Michigan, they had some early struggles against Seton Hall in Arizona. We thought that they were going to be right up in there, and they're kind of like sputtering along now. Most recent loss, they're 3-2. Talk to us about that one, Coach.
Well, I mean, again, I think it's early in the season. I think they'll be able to get things corrected going into their conference play. That Arizona team is a solid team. That's a team that went through a lot of turmoil last year, and they've been under investigation. And they, I think the cloud is moving away, and they're getting a little bit of good weather in Arizona.
I think they're primed for that kind of run to clean everything up.
Correct. At this time, they're 5-0. You know, and I think that they're going to be somebody to contend with in the Pac-12. But we'll see how they go. Seton Hall's another pretty good program. That's another program that does very well year in and year out.
One of those mid-major mainstays.
Well, I mean, they're not really mid-major because I think they're a Big East team, but
they've been in the Big East forever.
Right.
I mean, they were always with PJ Carlesimo and other teams in the '90s. Always.
Well, we're going.
I know, but I'm just saying, like they've since the '90s.
They have some history.
They've always been a team that's just there. They hover. Maybe they didn't make it to the NCAA tournament, but they'd be an NIT team. That I know from them. But the last 5 years,
they go to the conference. They
have been.
They go to the big dance.
A team that you have to worry about.
Right. You know, so they're not a slouch team. Again, I just think that these are good early matchups for these teams because they get to see what they're made of, what they need to do, and then they start going into conference play, and then you really start seeing the basketball.
I'd be more concerned if they start losing games in conference against teams that they shouldn't lose to.
Right.
I think when you lose these kind of like games that are like tournaments, and you're just going to get the feel of playing good teams. These are all warm-ups for your conference championship tournaments because it's back-to-back, and then it's also warm-ups for when you're playing the big dance.
And you want your kids exposed to that kind of competition. Yeah. You get me? And again, you want to see what they're made of, and it's a challenge. You know, win, lose, or draw, it's always good for them.
It's a litmus
test.
Big
matchups early because exactly that. You're not. I think you're sending the message we're not afraid. We'll play anybody, anywhere, and if we're gonna want to win the big title, this is what we got to do.
A litmus test, if you will.
A litmus test.
We're gonna roll right into Coach Gill's weekly deep dive. Give it to us, Coach.
Oh well, last week we ended up going 4-4 last week. We had a late addition to the picks, which is Ohio State -19, and they came through handily. If you jumped on to Hawaii, the Hawaii over, then we ended up having a 5-4 week. The Grizz turned us on to that Hawaii. If you play in Hawaii, get ready to get the over, and and if you get laid in Hawaii, you got a chance to be able to handle things. That's the most important thing is going over there and getting the over. So again, last week we ended up going 4-4. If you take the over, then you went 5-4. This week, the plays that I'm on, we jumped on Buffalo last night +6.5, and they ended up turning the ball over 4 times. They led in every statistical category except they also led in the turnover category.
Goo.
And that ended up costing us the game. We're gonna take this week. We're gonna take another under. We're gonna take the UTEP UAB under. They're two very slow teams. They're two defensive teams. It's at 49.5, 50. So anywhere there is a good spot to get it. And by the way, we did hit our under with Michigan State and Ohio State last week. I know it was a little bit of a sweat, but it was a great sweat.
Barely.
Oh, but it was great. It was a great sweat.
Barely.
It was phenomenal.
You were sweating at halftime,
That's how you watch the game. That's how
all
it's
that
all
matters
about.
is it hits, man.
That's all. That's it right there. I'm also on a little Maction. I'm going to jump on Miami of Ohio money line this week. I think they win the game outright. They started out as an underdog. That's now the game has already come down to a pick'em. I'm also going to be with Kentucky at +2.5 against Louisville. That line's moved to 3. I think Kentucky has a good chance of not just covering but winning that game. I think they have a better defense, and they know how to deal with the run. Louisville's a big running team. Defensively, I think Kentucky can do that. I'm going to take one over. I know this is going to shudder some people, but I'm taking the Ohio State Michigan over. We're going to go over 64.5.
Oh my God.
Yes, sir. If you look at the trend, that game is an over trending game.
That game's going to be over 70.
The last 7 years, it's been 7-0 to the over. Okay? It's only gone under 65 points twice in the last 7 years.
You are a masochist, sir.
It's either that or it's going to be like 17-14.
Well, I mean, I would hope not. That would really suck.
Listen,
I mean, it would be good because I'm also on Michigan +8.5. I think they're getting way too many points. Okay?
My personal opinion is I think the total amounts scored in this game is going to be 83.
And the last game of the week that I'm going to give out this
You
week
heard it here first.
is California plus 6.5 or 7 against UCLA. UCLA is 1-5 after playing USC in the last 6. Chip Kelly's 0-3 in the last 3 years after playing USC.
Deep dive.
Yeah, you just heard that? We just opened up a crate. We just dug in deep.
This is the deepest of
UCLA
dives.
does not, I don't know if it's because it's such an emotional game or what have you, but they don't play that great after USC. And I think California's going to come into play. I think California, remember, this is all in California. These are all rivalry games for them. So it's tough to get up for them 2 weeks in a row. They used to play Stanford at the end of the year. Same thing. Stanford would beat them. So we're going to take Cali at 6.5, 7.
I have a hard time getting up after beating a Trojan myself. That's a personal thing I'm dealing with.
Oh, man.
Wow.
On that note.
Hey, we want to wish everybody again a happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. Stay safe. And, make sure everything stays on the right track.
Yeah. Guys, as always, we appreciate the support. Listen, share, download, subscribe. Let's build this following. Let's continue to have some fun. We're here for any and all feedback that you guys have. Start emailing us, send us some tweets, send us some messages, and we are more than happy to talk about topics that you guys want to hear about going forward. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Much love to all.
Gobble, gobble.